Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Memory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our NFL Week 13 preview between the Carolina Panthers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now let's take a look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with the Panthers.
When I look at the Panthers in this ball game, I look at that defensive line, and they have to do better versus the run. When you look at the defensive ends, Charles Johnson and Greg Hardy, they can't allow the Kansas City Chiefs to get to the edge this week because Jamal Charles has world-class speed, and if you thought Bryce Brown was fast, Charles is even faster. So sealing the edge, keeping things bottled up so that way Kuechly and company can make plays downhill, but the run defense has to step up and play better. In the secondary, Sherrod Martin he led the team last week. He led the Philadelphia Eagles last week in drops. He could have had 3 interceptions against Nick Foles, but this week he's going to have more opportunities to make plays on the ball. He just has to make sure he comes away with the interceptions, and that way you get that offense back on the field. But let's go inside the lab and look at the Panthers' offense to see what worked last week in the passing game and what they can carry over this week versus Kansas City.
What makes the Panthers' passing game so dangerous off the read option is the stress that it puts on the defensive coverage, because it forces you to widen out. They're running out of the gun. It forces the defense to widen out and play assignment football, and it expands zones, and it also makes it tough versus man coverage as well. So let's see right here. You see where we have the hash marks drawn in the numbers. This receiver is inside the numbers. This receiver over here is outside the numbers. When you see a receiver outside the numbers, as a corner, you instantly know there's only a couple of routes he's going to run. He's going to try to go inside. Why would he go outside? To take away himself on the sidelines? But that's what they do on the outside. They run outside. Why? Because you want to leave this open, because you can have as many routes as you want, because you also have the slot receiver bending in, splitting the corner, free safety, and this backer that's going to be walked outside. So now it's going to force this safety to vacate the hash and get over top this clear out route, because remember, the zone read is coming this way. You're going to fake the handoff. You're going to try to pull this guy here, but he's going to end up on the line of scrimmage blocking. He's going to take this guy here, and you're also reading the defensive end. So this is a quick pass. The tight end is usually going to stem in inside and work his way to the middle, and you're going to have your receiver, which is Steve Smith, work his way outside, expanding the zone, taking advantage, widening out the defense. Why? Because you see where they can go with the football. They can hit the tight end here, which is usually what happens. Or if you have a free safety that realizes this tight end has the advantage, he's going to try to crash. And also you could hit this guy here, which they did for a touchdown versus Philadelphia. But that's how the read option passing game puts stress on the defense, just by the sheer widening out. And it's all about alignment. Inside the numbers, outside the numbers, splitting the hash and the numbers, and also working in and shooting down the middle of the field. And that's what they can do this week to have some effectiveness in the passing game.
Now let's move over to Kansas City in this ball game. And last week I came away quite impressed with both tackles, Eric Winston, the right tackle, and left tackle, Brandon Albert. These guys did a great job in getting to the edge, sealing the edge in the running game, and they were able to move the football up and down the field versus Denver, and they could have similar success versus this depleted run defense of Carolina. So these guys will need an encore performance. The question is, can they pass protect for Brady Quinn? Because we know the Panthers love to send extra as far as the linebackers are concerned, and they do a great job of getting pressure with Charles Johnson, their defensive end. Defensively, when you look at Kansas City, you want to focus on inside linebacker Derek Johnson. When you're playing Carolina, you have to play these guys like an option team. So that's a lot of reading, and once you understand what you see and once you diagnose it, you got to react quickly. Otherwise, it can be a big play. So when you see these guys running these misdirection counters or that read option, you got to be able to react and close the door quickly. On the back end, in the secondary, Brandon Flowers will be matched up versus Steve Smith, and we talk about it each and every week. When you're playing the Panthers, you want to take away the number one option and force Newton to go to these other targets. So you want to make Lewis Murphy and LaFell beat you. You can't let Steve Smith or Greg Olsen do it. Otherwise, it'll be a long day. X factor for the Panthers will be the defensive line. The Chiefs can really run the football, and if they can't stop the run, they may not see Brady Quinn drop back 20 to 25 times. You may see Jamal Charles carry it 30 to 35. And for the Chiefs, Tony Moeaki, you want to involve the middle of the field when you're playing Carolina. Make those linebackers worry about the pass game. So getting Moeaki involved, one, it alleviates a lot of pressure off Brady Quinn, and two, it also helps you out in the running game, creating more space for Jamal Charles to hit one of those lanes and take it the distance. Now, here are some of my coaching points for both teams in this matchup. If you look at Kansas City, run early, run often. We talked about the Panthers' run defense woes. You can get some yards on the ground versus this defense. And push versus pressure. You don't want to fly up the football field and give Cam Newton lanes to run. That can do a lot of damage. And communicate defensively. You got to understand your keys and communicate to your teammates in order to be effective versus the Panthers offense. For the Panthers, you look at an encore performance from their offensive coordinator. He called a great game last week versus Philadelphia, and the defense has to take the run defense personally. You got to take it personally that people are running the football down your throat. You got to get aggressive in that aspect. And speaking of aggressive, you want to go aggressive versus Kansas City in obvious passing situations. Brady Quinn will be the quarterback. You can frustrate him and force him into some bad decisions. I like Carolina in this ball game. I like what I saw last week, a cohesive unit, a well-balanced offensive attack. Offensive coordinator Rod Chudzinski called a great game, got Newton into a groove early, got every one of their playmakers involved, spread the wealth, and I think that was a great formula for success. Defensively, they got to get more active in the run defense department. The good part about it, they can make the Chiefs one-dimensional and not have to worry about the passing game with Brady Quinn. And I want to give a huge shout-out to Panther fan forums and Chief fan forums for always showing football game plan support.